The emergency alarm screamed through the darkness of space. Commander Jake Morrison jolted awake in his small quarters aboard the TDS Horizon. Red lights flashed on his walls, and the ship's computer voice echoed through the metal corridors. "All crew report to stations. Priority Alpha situation, this is not a drill." Jake pulled on his uniform and ran to the bridge. His crew was already there, faces pale with worry. Lieutenant Ben Clark stood at the communications panel, his hands shaking as he held a message pad. "Sir, we got a distress call from Kepler Station. It's bad. Really bad." Jake took the pad and read quickly. The words made his blood turn cold. Dr. Lisa Chang and her research team had been studying old alien artifacts at the abandoned space station. They found something they should not have touched. Something that had been sleeping for 300 years. The Kethvar was awake. Jake had heard stories about the creature, but most people thought they were just scary tales told to frighten children. The beast was supposed to be a legend from the old wars, a monster created by the Zephyrian Empire as the perfect weapon, 40 feet tall with black scales that could stop laser fire, eyes like burning amber that could see through metal, claws that could tear apart a starship like paper. "Get me a direct line to Galactic Command," Jake ordered. His voice stayed calm, but inside he felt sick with fear. The main screen lit up with the face of Admiral Kate Wilson. Her gray hair was messy, and her eyes showed she had not slept in days. Behind her, Jake could see dozens of officers running around in panic. "Morrison, thank God you're close to Kepler Station. We need every ship we can get out there." "What's the situation, Admiral?" Wilson's face grew darker. "The archaeology team woke up the Kethvar 12 hours ago. Half of Kepler Station is gone. The creature stole a transport ship and is heading toward the shipping lanes. We've already lost contact with 3 cargo vessels." Jake felt his stomach drop. The shipping lanes were full of civilian ships. Families, children. People who had no weapons to fight something like this. What about the other fleets? The Altarians? The Centauri Defense Force? Already tried. General Thexmore sent his best ships 3 hours ago. The creature destroyed them all. The Centauri tried their quantum weapons, nothing worked. The beast just got angrier. On the bridge, Emma Rodriguez sat quietly in the corner with her parents. She was 8 years old with dark hair and bright eyes. Her father, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, was a scientist. Her mother, Maria Rodriguez, was a teacher. They were traveling to the outer colonies when the emergency happened. Now they were stuck on a military ship, heading toward the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Emma pressed her face against the small window and watched the stars. She held her old teddy bear, Mr. Bear, tight in her arms. The grown-ups all looked scared, but Emma was curious. She had heard them talking about a big creature, but no one would tell her what it looked like. "Daddy, what's a Kethvar?" she asked. Dr. Rodriguez knelt down next to his daughter. He tried to smile, but his eyes were worried. "It's a very large animal, sweetheart. The grown-ups are trying to help it." "Is it hurt?" "We don't know, Emma. Maybe." The little girl nodded and went back to looking out the window. She had always been good with animals. At home on Earth, she had a dog named Rex and 3 cats. When they were scared or hurt, they acted mean sometimes. But Emma knew they just needed someone to be kind to them. Meanwhile, Jake studied the reports from the failed attacks. The Altarian fleet had used plasma cannons hot enough to melt asteroids. The weapons bounced off the creature like raindrops. The Centauri had fired quantum disruptors that could break apart atoms. The beast absorbed the energy and became stronger. Most frightening was the report from the Etherian Circle. These aliens could read minds and control thoughts from across star systems. Master Zilnith had tried to enter the creature's mind and stop it mentally. She failed completely. "The creature's thoughts are wrong," her report said. "It thinks, but not like any living thing should think. The Zephyrians made something that should not exist. Our mind powers cannot touch it." Lieutenant Amy Patterson, the ship's science officer, pulled up old files about the Zephyrians. The ancient empire had disappeared over 300 years ago. They left behind ruins and stories, but most of their technology was lost. "Sir, I found something interesting. The Zephyrians were masters of bioengineering. They didn't just make weapons, they made living creatures that could think and feel, but they controlled them completely. What does that mean for us?" I think the Kethvar isn't just a weapon. It's something more complicated. The Zephyrians programmed it to obey them, but they're all dead now. Jake nodded slowly. A weapon without an owner was dangerous. A thinking weapon without an owner was terrifying. The ship's sensors started beeping. They were getting close to the last known position of the creature. On the main screen, they could see the wreckage of destroyed ships floating in space. Metal twisted into impossible shapes. Burn marks that showed where the beast's fire breath had melted hull plating. "Sir, I'm picking up a signal," Ben Clark reported. "It's coming from that asteroid field up ahead. Put it on speakers." The sound that filled the bridge made everyone freeze. It was a roar, but not like any animal on Earth. It was deeper than thunder, louder than a rocket engine. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. Even through the ship's thick walls and the vacuum of space, the sound made their bones shake. Emma looked up from her window. While all the adults covered their ears and looked frightened, she tilted her head like she was listening to something interesting. "Why is it so sad?" she asked. Her parents looked at her strangely. "Sad? Emma, that creature is angry and dangerous." "No, Daddy. Listen to how it sounds. Rex makes sounds like that when he's scared and can't find us." The grown-ups listened again, but all they heard was a terrifying roar that promised death and destruction. Emma heard something completely different. She heard loneliness. She heard fear. She heard a creature that had been asleep for 300 years and woke up in a universe where everything it knew was gone. "There it is," Lieutenant Clark whispered. On the main screen, the Kethvar came into view. It was everything the stories said and worse. Massive beyond belief, with scales that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed like small suns. When it moved, space itself seemed to bend around it. The creature was tearing apart an old mining station, piece by piece. But as Emma watched, she noticed something the adults missed. After the beast destroyed each section, it stopped and looked around. Like it was waiting for something. Like it expected someone to appear and tell it what to do next. "It's lost," Emma said quietly. Jake heard her and looked down at the little girl. "What did you say?" "The big creature. It's lost. It doesn't know where it's supposed to go." Before Jake could answer, the Kethvar noticed their ship. Its massive head turned toward them, and those burning eyes focused on the TDS horizon. The creature opened its mouth, and everyone on the bridge prepared for another deafening roar. Instead, the beast made a different sound, softer, almost like a question. Emma smiled and pressed her hand against the window. "See? It's trying to talk to us." The most dangerous creature in the galaxy was looking right at them, and an 8-year-old girl thought it wanted to have a conversation. The largest meeting in galactic history was happening aboard the diplomatic ship Harmony's Edge. Leaders from every major species had gathered in the Great Council chamber. The room buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of different languages. Translators worked frantically to keep up with all the conversations. General Thexmore of the Altarian Navy stood at the center podium. His blue scales were darker than usual, a sign of deep shame among his people. His forearms gestured as he spoke, and his voice carried the weight of defeat. "Honored council members, I must report the complete failure of our fleet. We sent 12 of our finest warships against the creature. Ships that have never been defeated in 300 years of service. The Kethvar destroyed them all in less than 20 minutes. Worried murmurs filled the chamber. The Altarian Navy was famous across the galaxy for their powerful plasma weapons. If they could not hurt the beast, what chance did anyone else have? "Tell us exactly what happened," requested High Counselor Vexini of the Centauri. Her tentacles moved in slow, nervous patterns as she spoke. Thexmore's face grew even darker. "We surrounded the creature near the Vega system. Our plasma cannons fired at maximum power. The energy beams were hot enough to melt through a moon. They hit the beast directly, again and again. The creature absorbed every shot like it was drinking water. Then it became angry." The general paused and looked around the room. The Kethvar moved faster than our sensors could track. It tore through our flagship's shields with its bare claws. Our strongest armor, made from crystallized starlight, crumpled like thin paper. The beast's breath weapon melted our hull in seconds. Only 3 of my ships escaped, and they were badly damaged. High Counselor Vexini stood up next. Her voice was usually calm and steady, but today it shook with fear. The Centauri Defense Force had similar results. We tried our quantum disruptors on the creature 2 days ago. These weapons can break apart matter at the smallest level. They can destroy anything that exists in normal space. She touched a control panel, and a holographic display showed the battle. The council members watched as bright blue beams hit the massive creature. For a moment, it looked like the weapons were working. Parts of the beast's body seemed to flicker and fade. We thought we had won, Vexini continued. But the creature adapted. Its body learned to resist our weapons in real time. Within minutes, our most powerful technology was useless. The Kethvar retaliated by destroying our command ship and half our fleet. The most disturbing report came from Etherian Master Zilneth. Her people looked like tall, thin humans made of silver light. They were the most advanced telepaths in the galaxy, able to read thoughts from across star systems and control minds with ease. Zilneth's voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but her words were frightening. My people attempted to enter the creature's mind and calm its rage. We have stopped wars with our mental powers. We have brought peace to entire planets by touching the thoughts of their leaders. She paused, and her silver light dimmed. The Kethvar's mind is wrong. It thinks, but not like any living creature should think. The thoughts are there, but they exist in a place between life and death. Our telepathic powers cannot reach something that should not exist in the first place. The council chamber fell silent. If the greatest military forces in the galaxy could not stop the creature, what hope was there? Meanwhile, aboard the TDS Horizon, Jake Morrison studied the tactical reports in his private office. Every page told the same story. Failure. Complete, total failure. The beast seemed to grow stronger with each attack. It was learning from every encounter, becoming more dangerous. Lieutenant Ben Clark knocked on the door and entered. His young face looked tired and worried. Sir, we just received another report. The creature attacked a trading post in the Centauri system. 47 ships destroyed. No survivors. Jake put his head in his hands. How many people? Over 3,000, sir. Mostly civilians, families. The commander felt sick. The Kethvar was not just destroying military targets anymore. It was killing innocent people, children. The thought made his chest tight with anger and helplessness. Ben, what's your theory about this thing? You've been studying it longer than anyone. The young officer sat down and opened his datapad. Sir, I think the creature is not just a weapon. The Zephyrians were master bioengineers. They didn't just make killing machines. They made complex living beings with thoughts and feelings. What does that mean for us? I think the Kethvar is acting like this for a reason. It's not just destroying things because it's evil. There's a pattern to its behavior that we're missing. Jake nodded slowly. Show me. Ben activated a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed everywhere the creature had attacked. At first, the pattern looked random, but as Jake studied it more carefully, he began to see something strange. Look at this, sir. Every system the creature has visited has one thing in common. They all have old Zephyrian ruins or research stations. The beast isn't moving randomly. It's searching for something. Searching for what? I don't know, sir, but I think it's looking for its creators. In the civilian quarters, Emma Rodriguez sat with her parents in the small mess hall. She had been watching the news reports on the wall screen, even though her parents tried to keep her from seeing the scary pictures. The little girl held Mr. Bear in her lap and ate her dinner slowly. Around them, other families whispered about the creature and what might happen to them. Everyone looked frightened. Mommy, why is everyone so scared of the big animal? Emma asked. Maria Rodriguez looked at her daughter carefully. As a teacher, she was used to explaining difficult things to children, but this was harder than usual. The creature is very large and strong, sweetheart. It has hurt people. But why did it hurt them? Dr. Carlos Rodriguez joined the conversation. Some animals hurt people because they're mean, Emma. This creature was made to be a weapon. Emma thought about this while she ate her vegetables. She had always been good with animals, even scary ones. At home, there was a big dog in their neighborhood that everyone said was dangerous. But Emma had discovered that the dog was just lonely and afraid. When she was kind to it, the dog became gentle and friendly. Daddy, what if the big animal is not mean? What if it's just scared? Her parents looked at each other. They had heard their daughter say this before, but they thought it was just a child's imagination. But Maria had studied child psychology before becoming a teacher. She knew that children often saw things that adults missed. What makes you think it's scared, Emma? When I watched the pictures on the screen, the creature looked around after it broke things, like it was looking for someone. And the sounds it makes remind me of Rex when he's lost. Rex was their dog back on Earth. When he got separated from the family, he would howl in a way that sounded angry to strangers. But Emma and her parents knew he was just calling for help. Dr. Rodriguez started thinking about his daughter's words more seriously. He was a scientist who studied animal behavior. Could a creature as advanced as the HFY have complex emotions like fear and loneliness? Emma, show me what you mean about the creature looking around. Emma pulled up one of the news videos on her small tablet. She showed her father how the beast would pause after destroying something and turn its massive head from side to side. See, Daddy? It's looking for someone. Maybe it's looking for its family. Dr. Rodriguez watched the video again with fresh eyes. His daughter was right. The creature's behavior after each attack was not random destruction. It was searching behavior. The same kind of movements animals made when they were looking for their pack or their home. Maria, I think Emma might be onto something important. What do you mean? What if the creature is not attacking because it's evil? What if it's attacking because it's confused and afraid? Think about it. The beast was asleep for 300 years. It woke up in a universe where its creators are dead. Everything it knew is gone. Maria looked at the video again. As someone who worked with children, she recognized the signs of distress and confusion. The creature's movements did look like the behavior of a lost and frightened child. We need to tell Commander Morrison about this, she said. But even as they talked about their theory, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. The HFY had been spotted again, and this time it was heading directly toward a populated star system. Millions of lives were at risk, and there was still no way to stop the creature. In the command center of Harmony's Edge, the galactic leaders continued their desperate planning. But all their military might and advanced technology had failed. The greatest minds in the galaxy could not solve the problem of the HFY. They needed a different kind of thinking. They needed the simple wisdom of a child who could see past fear and recognize that sometimes the most dangerous monsters are just lost souls looking for home. Emma Rodriguez spent most of her time in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars and the tactical displays that showed the creature's movements. While the adults rushed around in panic, trying to find ways to destroy the HFY, Emma sat quietly with Mr. Bear and studied the beast like it was a puzzle she needed to solve. The 8-year-old girl had always been different from other children. At home on Earth, she could calm angry dogs that barked at strangers. She could make scared cats come out from hiding under beds. Her parents said she had a gift with animals, but Emma just thought she was good at listening to what they really needed. Look, Mr. Bear, she whispered to her stuffed animal, pointing at the main screen. The big kitty did it again. On the display, they could see the aftermath of the creature's latest encounter. The HFY had destroyed a small research station, but Emma noticed something that no one else saw. After tearing apart the station's outer hull, the beast had stopped. It floated in space for almost 10 minutes, turning its massive head in all directions. It's looking for someone, Emma said to herself. Just like Rex does when we leave him, alone. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez had been listening to his daughter's quiet observations for days now. As a scientist who studied animal behavior, he was starting to think Emma might understand something that all the military experts were missing. Emma, can you show me what you mean? He asked, sitting down next to her. The little girl pulled up a recording of the creature's attack on a merchant convoy. She pointed to the screen as the HFY tore through the ships with its massive claws. Everyone thinks the big kitty is being mean, Emma explained, but watch what happens after it. Breaks each ship. Dr. Rodriguez watched carefully. After destroying each vessel, the creature would pause and make a strange sound. It was not the terrifying roar they had heard before. This sound was softer, almost musical. What do you think that sound means, sweetheart? It's calling for someone. Like when I call for you and Mommy when I can't find you in the store. Emma's mother, Maria Rodriguez, joined them at the observation window. As a teacher and child psychologist, she had learned to take children's insights seriously. Kids often saw things that adults missed because they looked at the world without all the complicated ideas that grown-ups carried around. Emma, tell us more about what you see, Maria said gently. The little girl pointed to another part of the recording. See how the big kitty's tail moves? It's tucked down low, like Rex does when he's scared. And look at its eyes. They're not angry eyes. They're sad eyes. Maria studied the creature's body language with professional interest. She had worked with troubled children for years, and she knew how to read the signs of fear and confusion. Looking at the HFY through her daughter's innocent perspective, she began to see behaviors that were not aggressive but desperate. Carlos, I think Emma is right. This creature is not acting like a predator. It's acting like a lost child. Doctor, Rodriguez felt excitement building in his chest. His daughter might have discovered something that could save millions of lives. We need to document this. Show me everything you've noticed, Emma. For the next hour, Emma walked her parents through all her observations. She showed them how the creature's movements changed depending on what it encountered. When it found old Zephyrian ruins, it became gentler, almost careful. When it met resistance from military ships, it became more frantic and destructive. The big kitty gets more scared when people try to hurt it, Emma explained. That's why it fights back so hard. It doesn't understand that the other ships are trying to protect people. It just knows they're trying to hurt it. Emma pulled up a video of the creature's encounter with the Altarian fleet. She showed her parents how the HFY had actually backed away when the first plasma shots were fired. Only when the weapons kept hitting it did the beast become aggressive, see? It tried to run away first, but the ships kept following it and shooting, so it had to fight back. Dr. Rodriguez felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. Emma, you're saying the creature doesn't want to fight? It just wants to go home. But it can't find home because home is gone. The simple truth of his daughter's words hit Dr. Rodriguez like a physical blow. The Zephyrians had been extinct for 300 years. The creature had awakened into a universe where its entire species was dead. Everything it had ever known was gone. Maria, we have to tell Commander Morrison about this immediately. But Maria was studying another recording that Emma had shown them. Wait, Carlos, look at this pattern. She had noticed that the creature visited certain types of locations over and over again. Old Zephyrian colonies, ancient research stations, archaeological sites where Zephyrian artifacts had been found. It's not random, Maria realized. The creature is searching every place where its people used to live. It's looking for survivors. Emma nodded seriously. The big kitty is trying to find its family, but its family is all gone, so it gets more and more sad. That's why it breaks things. Not because it's mean, but because it's crying. The family sat in silence for a moment, thinking about the tragedy of the situation. A creature designed to protect and serve its creators, awakening to find that everything it loved was gone forever. We have to help it, Emma said finally. We can't let it be sad and alone forever. Dr. Rodriguez contacted Commander Morrison immediately. The military officer was initially skeptical about taking advice from an 8-year-old, but the evidence that Emma and her parents presented was compelling. You're saying this creature is not actually trying to conquer the galaxy? Jake asked during their meeting in his office. That's exactly what we're saying, Dr. Rodriguez replied. My daughter has identified behavioral patterns that suggest the HFY is in severe psychological distress. It's not a weapon on a mission. It's a lost being looking for help. Jake studied the recordings that Emma had analyzed. With fresh eyes, he could see what the little girl meant. The creature's actions did seem more desperate than malicious. But it's still killing people, Jake pointed out. Thousands have died. Because it doesn't know how to communicate its needs, Maria explained. Think about it from the creature's perspective. It wakes up after 3 centuries to find its entire world changed. It tries to find familiar places and people, but everything is different. When it encounters resistance, it doesn't understand that these are peaceful intentions. It only knows that something is trying to stop it from finding home. Emma spoke, up from where she sat holding Mr. Bear. Commander Morrison, what if someone tried to talk to the big kitty instead of shooting at it? Jake looked down at the serious little girl. Talk to it? Emma, this creature has destroyed entire fleets. It's 40 feet tall and can breathe fire hot enough to melt metal. But nobody has tried being nice to it, Emma said simply. Maybe it would be nice back if someone was nice first. The idea was so simple that it sounded crazy, but Jake had to admit that every conventional approach had failed completely. Maybe it was time to try something unconventional. What exactly? Are you suggesting? Emma looked up at him with bright, innocent eyes. I think someone should tell the big kitty that it's safe, that it doesn't have to be scared anymore, that even though its old family is gone, it can have a new family if it wants. The bridge crew who had gathered for the meeting exchanged glances. The idea of trying to befriend the most dangerous creature in the galaxy seemed impossible. But Emma had seen something that all the military experts in alien technologies had missed. She had seen past the monster to the lonely, frightened being underneath. And if she was right, then maybe the solution to their crisis was not more weapons or stronger shields. Maybe the solution was compassion. Commander Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting in the ship's main conference room. Word had spread quickly through the TDS horizon about Emma's theory. Now the senior officers, scientists, and even some of the civilian experts sat around the large table, looking at the 8-year-old girl who might hold the key to saving the galaxy. Emma sat between her parents, holding Mr. Bear in her lap. She felt nervous with so many grown-ups staring at her, but she knew she had to help the big creature that everyone was so afraid of. Emma, Jake said gently, can you tell everyone what you told me about the creature? The little girl took a deep breath. The big kitty is not mean, it's just very, very sad. It woke up and all its friends are gone. So it's looking everywhere to find them, but it can't. That makes it scared and angry, like when Rex can't find us. Lieutenant Amy Patterson, the ship's science officer, leaned forward. Emma, you keep comparing the creature to your dog. Can you explain why? Because they act the same way, Emma said simply. When Rex gets lost, he runs around and barks really loud. He might knock things over or scratch at doors. People think he's being bad, but he's just trying to find his family. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez opened his data pad and showed the assembled group his analysis. I've been studying my daughter's observations from a scientific perspective. The creature's behavior patterns match what we see in highly intelligent animals experiencing separation anxiety and trauma. Trauma? Asked Lieutenant Ben Clark. Think about it, Dr. Rodriguez explained. The Kethvar was created by the Zephyrians to be their guardian and companion. It was probably raised from birth to love and protect its creators. Then it was put to sleep for 300 years. When it woke up, every single person it cared about was dead. Maria Rodriguez added her own professional insight. I've worked with children who have lost their families. The behavior patterns are very similar. Confusion, anger, destructive acting, out and desperate searching for familiar faces and places. Emma nodded seriously. The big kitty keeps going to places where its family used to live, but they're all empty now. That's why it gets so upset. Lieutenant Patterson pulled up a star map on the wall screen. You're right, Emma. Look at this pattern. Every system the creature has visited has ancient Zephyrian settlements or research stations. The map showed red dots marking each of the creature's attacks. When connected, they formed a clear path through old Zephyrian territory. The beast was literally visiting every place its creators had once lived. It's on a pilgrimage, Dr. Rodriguez realized. The creature is trying to find any trace of its people. Emma raised her small hand. Can I ask something? Of course, sweetheart, Jake said. What if the big kitty's family left it a message somewhere? Like when Mommy leaves me notes in my lunchbox? The adults looked at each other with surprise. Could it be that simple? Lieutenant Patterson started typing quickly on her computer. I'm accessing the archaeological database for all known Zephyrian sites. if they left any kind of message or instruction for the creature. She worked for several minutes while everyone waited quietly. Emma swung her legs from her chair and hummed softly to Mr. Bear. "I found something," Patterson said suddenly. "There's a Zephyrian facility in the Kepler system that has never been fully explored. The outer defenses are still active, which has kept archaeologists out. But the energy signature suggests there might be something important inside." "What kind of facility?" Jake asked. "The records call it a Guardian Rest Station, a place where the Zephyrians kept their bioengineered creatures during long periods of inactivity." Emma's eyes lit up. "That's like a bedroom for the big kitty." Dr. Rodriguez felt excitement building. If the Zephyrians built a special place for their creatures to sleep, they might have left instructions there, programming codes, or even just recorded messages. "But how do we get the creature to go there peacefully?" Jake wondered. "Every time our ships get close, it becomes aggressive." Emma stood up on her chair so she could see everyone better. "We have to ask it nicely. Nobody has tried just talking to the big kitty like it's smart." "Emma, the creature doesn't speak our language," Lieutenant Clark pointed out. "But it has ears, right? And it has feelings. Sometimes you don't need words to tell someone you want to help them." Maria Rodriguez smiled at her daughter. "Emma has always been good at communicating with animals without words, body language, tone of voice, peaceful gestures." "You're suggesting we try to approach the creature without weapons," Jake said slowly. "Show it that we're not a threat." "Yes," Emma said excitedly. "Like when I meet a new dog. I sit down so I'm not so tall and scary. I talk in a soft voice. I let the dog come to me instead of chasing it." The idea terrified every military instinct Jake had. Approaching the most dangerous creature in the galaxy without weapons seemed like suicide. But conventional military thinking had failed completely. Maybe it was time to try something completely different. Lieutenant Patterson had been researching more about Zephyrian bioengineering. "I found something interesting. The Zephyrians didn't just create weapons, they created companions. The word Kethvar doesn't actually mean Warbeast like we thought." "What does it mean?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "The closest translation is lonely guardian or faithful protector. The creature was designed to form emotional bonds with its handlers. It was programmed to need love and companionship." Emma clapped her hands together. "See? The big kitty was supposed to have friends. That's why it's so sad now." The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. The Kethvar was not a mindless weapon of destruction. It was a highly intelligent being designed to love and protect others. When it lost everything it cared about, it had become desperate and confused. "There's more." Patterson continued reading. "Zephyrian records show that these creatures were extremely sensitive to emotional cues. They could sense fear, anger, and aggression from great distances. That's why our military approaches have failed. The creature can tell that we're afraid and hostile." "But what if we approached it with peaceful intentions?" Maria suggested. "What if we sent someone who wasn't afraid?" Everyone looked at Emma. The little girl was the only person who had looked at the creature without fear. She saw it as a lost animal that needed help, not as a monster that needed to be destroyed. "Emma," Jake said carefully, "would you be willing to try talking to the creature?" Emma nodded without hesitation. "I want to help the big kitty find its way home." Her parents looked worried. The idea of putting their 8-year-old daughter in danger was terrifying, but they also knew that Emma had a special gift with frightened animals. If anyone could reach the creature's heart, it would be their compassionate little girl. "We would keep you completely safe," Jake promised. "You would stay on the ship and we would use the communication system to let you talk to the creature from a distance." "Can I bring Mr. Bear?" Emma asked. "He helps me be brave." "Of course you can bring Mr. Bear." Emma hugged her stuffed animal tight. She felt scared but also excited. Tomorrow she would try to make friends with the loneliest creature in the galaxy. She would tell it that it didn't have to be afraid anymore, and that even though its old family was gone, it could still find love and friendship if it wanted to. The galaxy's greatest crisis might be solved not by weapons or technology, but by the simple kindness of a child who understood that every lost soul just needed someone to care. The Meridian system looked like a graveyard of stars. Floating chunks of broken asteroids drifted slowly around the dying sun. In the center of this cosmic cemetery lay the ruins of the ancient Zephyrian homeworld. Nothing left but twisted metal and memories. Dozens of ships from every major species in the galaxy waited at a safe distance. The Altarian fleet hung back with their weapons powered down. The Centauri vessels floated silently, their crews watching nervously. Even the mysterious Etherian ships, which usually stayed hidden, had come to witness what might be the most important moment in galactic history. At the heart of the asteroid field, the Kethvar waited. The massive creature had found the Guardian rest station 3 days ago. It was a beautiful building made of crystal and metal, designed to be a peaceful place where bioengineered Guardians could sleep safely. But the station had been empty for 300 years. No friendly voices greeted the beast. No familiar hands offered comfort. The creature had not destroyed the station. Instead, it curled up next to the building like a giant cat sleeping by its owner's house. For the first time since awakening, the Kethvar was completely still. Emma Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the TDS Horizon, wearing a small spacesuit that had been specially made for her. Her helmet was decorated with stickers of Earth animals that she had put there to make herself feel braver. Mr. Bear was tucked safely in a pocket on her chest. "Are you ready, sweetheart?" her father asked. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez tried to keep his voice calm, but Emma could tell he was worried. "I'm ready, Daddy," Emma said. She looked out at the massive creature on the main screen. Even from this distance, she could see that the Kethvar looked tired and sad. "The big kitty has been waiting for someone to talk to it for a very long time." Commander Jake Morrison checked all the ship's systems one more time. They were close enough to communicate with the creature, but far enough away to escape if things went wrong. Every other ship in the fleet was ready to protect the little girl if needed. "Emma, remember what we practiced," Jake said gently. "Speak, slowly and clearly. The creature will hear your voice through our communication system. If you get scared, just tell us and we'll stop immediately." Emma nodded and walked up to the communication panel. Her small hands could barely reach the controls, so Lieutenant Ben Clark had to help her. She took a deep breath and looked at the creature one more time. The Kethvar was beautiful in a strange way. Its black scales caught the light from the distant sun and sparkled like jewels. Its massive body was perfectly designed for power and grace, but its glowing amber eyes held a sadness that made Emma's heart hurt. "Hello, big kitty," Emma said into the microphone. Her young voice traveled across space and reached the creature's sensitive ears. The effect was immediate. The Kethvar's enormous head lifted up and turned toward their ship. For the first time in months, it was completely focused on something other than destruction or searching. Emma continued speaking in the gentle voice she used with frightened animals. "I know you're sad. I know you miss your family. I get scared sometimes too when my mommy and daddy aren't there." The creature stood up slowly and moved closer to their ship. Every person on the bridge held their breath. The beast was close enough, now that they could see its individual scales and the intelligent gleam in its eyes. But something was different. The Kethvar's body language had changed completely. Its aggressive spines were flat against its back. Its claws were pulled back into protective sheaths. Instead of the predatory stance that had terrified the galaxy, it moved with careful curiosity. "You've been alone for such a long time," Emma continued, her voice full of sympathy. "But you don't have to be alone anymore. We can be your friends, if you want us to." The creature made a sound unlike any it had produced before. Instead of its terrifying roar, it created a soft, musical note that reminded everyone of a parent singing to a child. The ship's computers identified the sound as remarkably similar to the comforting calls that mammals made to their young. Emma smiled inside her helmet. "That's a pretty sound. Are you trying to tell me something?" The Kethvar moved even closer, until its massive face filled the entire view screen. Up close, they could see that its amber eyes were not angry or cruel. They were filled with hope and desperate loneliness. Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out Mr. Bear. She held the small stuffed animal up so the creature could see it through the view screen. "This is Mr. Bear," she said. "He's my special friend. He keeps me safe when I'm scared or sad." Everyone needs someone to take care of them, even big, strong creatures like you. The HFY stared at the tiny teddy bear with intense focus. Slowly, carefully, it extended one massive claw toward the ship. Not an attack, but in the universal gesture of wanting to touch something precious. Emma pressed her other hand against the view screen, right where the creature's claw was pointing. Through the metal and glass, somehow, both the little girl and the massive beast felt a connection. "I know what you need," Emma said softly. "You need what everyone needs. You need to belong somewhere. You need people who care about you. You need—" She paused, thinking of the perfect word. The word that would explain everything the creature was searching for. The word that would heal 300 years of loneliness and pain. "Home," Emma said simply. The word hit the HFY like a physical blow. The massive creature stopped moving entirely. Its head tilted to one side in the confused way that animals do when they hear something unexpected but important. For 300 years, the beast had searched through dead systems and empty ruins, looking for its creators. It had torn apart ships and destroyed stations in its desperate quest to find familiar faces and voices. But no one had ever offered it what it really needed. No one had ever offered it a home. The creature's mouth opened, and for a moment everyone thought it would roar again. Instead, it spoke its first word in the ancient Zephyrian language. The ship's computers translated it instantly, and the word appeared on screens throughout the bridge. Home? The question was full of 3 centuries of hope and heartbreak. The creature was asking if such a thing was possible. Could a monster like itself ever truly belong somewhere? Could it ever be wanted rather than feared? Emma's eyes filled with tears of happiness. "Yes, big kitty, home. You can come home with us. You can be part of our family if you want to." The HFY made the soft musical sound again, but this time it was different. This time it was the sound of joy. The creature that had terrorized the galaxy began to cry tears of relief and gratitude. Around the Meridian system, crews on dozens of ships watched in amazement as the most dangerous being in known space was tamed not by weapons or technology, but by the simple kindness of a human child. Emma Rodriguez had done something that entire fleets could not accomplish. She had looked past fear and anger to see the hurt and loneliness underneath. She had offered friendship instead of violence. She had spoken the one word that every lost soul needs to hear: home. The galaxy's greatest crisis was over. The lonely guardian had finally found its family. And humanity had proved once again that their greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology, but their limitless capacity for compassion and understanding. The HFY followed the TDS horizon toward Earth, no longer a monster but a friend. And in her small spacesuit, Emma Rodriguez smiled and hugged Mr. Bear, knowing she had helped the saddest creature in the universe find happiness at last.